Yes, and the president's trade war has put America's farmers in a pathway of complete destruction.
They planted the crops, prayed for rain, and when harvest came, there were no buyers. Containers piled up at ports. Shipments were canceled mid-ocean. In just weeks, U.S. farm exports to China collapsed, silos overflowed, and rural layoffs exploded. This isn't just bad luck or market noise. This is the silent collapse of America's farm economy. And what triggered it will shock you. Because this time, it wasn't a drought. It was Washington. For years, China was the biggest customer for American farmers, buying billions in soybeans, sorghum, pork, and more. But after the latest wave of U.S. tariffs, China hit back hard. Retaliatory tariffs on U.S. farm goods now top 125%, making American products way too expensive. So China didn't wait. They signed long-term deals with Brazil and Argentina, locking in new grain suppliers through 2030. China's soybean imports from Brazil jumped 25% in early 2025. At the same time, U.S. soybean futures fell over 14%, and exports to China dropped sharply. This isn't a short-term dip, it's a permanent shift. China is rebuilding its supply chain without the U.S., and they're not looking back. Experts say even if tariffs were lifted tomorrow, the damage is already done. The trust is broken, the buyers are gone, and American farmers are left behind. At the heart of America's farm export machine is the Port of Oakland, once the top hub for refrigerated farm goods, but now it's barely moving. Since the April tariff spike, 68 sailings have been canceled, according to the Agriculture Transportation Coalition. Shipments of almonds, dairy, and hay are stuck in warehouses or sitting idle at sea. One exporter reported losing 6,400 metric tons of wood pulp in limbo, with 15 rail cars incurring extra storage fees. A Washington hay company laid off 25% of its staff in just 2 weeks. These delays are costing millions and killing jobs, not just for farmers, but for truckers, dock workers, and warehouse crews. The slowdown is so severe that port officials have warned it's threatening the long-term future of American farm exports. And the worst part? No one is stepping in to fix it. Farmers across America are facing mounting challenges. Prices for their crops are declining, while the costs to cultivate and transport them continue to rise. Sorghum exports to China plummeted by 95% in early 2025 compared to the same period in the previous year, dropping from over 1.4 million metric tons to just 78,316 metric tons. This sharp decline is a direct result of rising tariffs, which have severely disrupted trade relations between the U.S. and China. In addition to shrinking export markets, U.S. farmers are grappling with increased input costs. The imposition of 25% tariffs on Canadian imports, such as potash fertilizer, has driven up expenses for growers already struggling with weak crop prices and tighter profit margins. In this difficult environment, many farmers find themselves planting not to earn profits, but simply to reduce losses. Some are even considering leaving their fields unharvested because the financial return no longer justifies the effort. Despite these deepening problems, federal responses have largely focused on short-term aid instead of tackling the real issue, collapsing market access. A bailout check may delay the pain, but it won't fix the system. This time, the damage isn't temporary, it's being built into the future. As the U.S. raises tariffs, other countries are moving in fast. China has now locked in long-term grain and soybean deals with Brazil and Argentina, creating a new supply chain that cuts out the U.S. entirely. According to Bloomberg, China's soybean imports from Brazil surged 25% year-over-year in early 2025. At the same time, U.S. futures prices dropped and export volume shrank. But this isn't just about numbers, it's about infrastructure. Brazil has spent years upgrading ports, expanding rail lines, and boosting subsidies to become the top supplier. And it worked. Now U.S. farmers are facing a painful truth. Even if tariffs were lifted tomorrow, those markets may never come back. Once trust and supply chains are gone, they don't return easily. While farmers watch their markets disappear, Washington is still stuck in damage control. The U.S. Trade Representative recently enforced port fees of $1.5 million per Chinese vessel, claiming it wouldn't affect agriculture. But that's only true for bulk farm goods, not containerized agriculture, which makes up 55% of all U.S. farm export value, including beef, dairy, frozen foods, and processed products like French fries. These are the very items now hit hardest by rising costs. Yet no exemption has been granted. Industry leaders, including Peter Friedman of the Agriculture Transportation Coalition, warned CNBC that this carve-out failure is making things worse. While policymakers talk about relief, farmers are being priced out of global markets, fast. And even with loud pleas from exporters, the federal response remains vague. Farmers don't need another press release. They need clear policies, real exemptions, and access to buyers before more of them are forced to shut down for good. Across the country, food prices are climbing, but the people growing that food aren't seeing the rewards. The Consumer Price Index shows grocery prices rose nearly 18% year over year by April 2025. But for most farmers, especially small and mid-sized operations, income is falling. Why? Because pricing power now belongs to processors and distributors, not the farmers. Companies like Calayan Foods reported over $1 billion in profits during the 2024 egg shortage. Meanwhile, family-owned farms face feed costs up 20% due to Canadian import duties, pushing them deeper into debt. Many growers can no longer break even without stable export contracts. This isn't just a market imbalance, it's a structural failure. Tariffs were meant to protect American farmers, but they're now fueling higher consumer prices while leaving those same farmers with unsold crops, canceled contracts, and skyrocketing costs. It's a system where the middle wins and the producer loses, and it's starting to break. The U.S. farm economy isn't just in trouble, it's entering a slow-motion collapse. For decades, American agriculture relied on three key pillars: strong global demand, affordable land and input costs, and dependable government support. But in 2025, all three are shaking. According to the American Farm Bureau, net farm income is projected to drop by 4.1% this year, marking a 22.6% decline from its 2022 peak. Crop receipts are down by 9.2%, reflecting weak international demand and growing competition from South America. With fewer buyers abroad, silos across the Midwest are now packed with unsold crops. Export infrastructure, rail lines, ports, cold storage sits underused, and the support being offered from Washington doesn't match the scale of the damage. This isn't just another trade hiccup or weather setback, it's the breakdown of an entire system that no longer fits the world it was built for. If something doesn't change soon, this collapse won't just hurt farmers, it could reshape America's entire food economy. The worst part of this crisis is that it isn't stopping, it's accelerating. The U.S. agricultural trade deficit hit $31.8 billion in 2024 and is now projected to grow to $45.5 billion in 2025, according to recent forecasts. That's the largest gap in modern U.S. farm trade history. While American farmers lose market share, competitors are stepping in to claim it permanently. At home, the pain is spreading fast. Reports show Chapter 12 farm bankruptcies nearly doubled in the first quarter of 2025 compared to the same time last year. And this is just the beginning. Without reliable exports, many farmers are watching their entire operations sink under rising costs, vanishing contracts, and policy uncertainty. By 2026, the question won't just be about profit or loss. It'll be about survival. Who's still farming? Who's still shipping? Who's still standing? Because once this system breaks, it won't be easy to rebuild. And time is running out. America's farmers aren't facing a tough season. They're facing extinction from a system collapsing in real time. Subscribe for more deep dives into the stories that matter, because while headlines fade, the consequences don't.